Alright, so second game analysis. This one I lose to a production War Factory player on round 4, and I think it's quite instructive. The packs, aerial spec's no good, the stormcallers need chaff, elite spec wasn't good, they generally, I think they need to start with a chaff unit, otherwise you're buying all level 2 chaff and feeding your opponent XP. Speed spec with the balls was playable, and also this combo with Spider and Void Eye is not bad. I feel like you need to play this very aggro because the units are quite slow and they can clump together, and they are quite vulnerable to Stormcallers. So in hindsight, I probably should have even gone a square higher. And I picked crawlers for the chaff. I think that's okay. I picked this one 2 behind the tower to help cover any flanks and come in late. And this one will go here somewhere to try to take any of the first DPS shots that he might put on the board. And you can see that he's picked up marksman. Generally, I don't think my placement's great. I think I could have moved things just a couple of squares over this way, because you can see here that these units over here, some of them will go to the tower, and if I'd placed, for example, the Void Eyes maybe here and set up like here, let's say, I've still got tower pressure, but I'm also pulling all of these units across. So anyway, look, we'll zip through it, and we'll see how the first round goes. Sort of playing around with the positioning. So you can see here, it started okay. The marksman unfortunately locks onto my spider quite quickly. So that's something that I'll need to deal with next round. And also, as you can see, some of these units on the right get through to the tower, and that's another issue that I'll have to deal with next round. So look, it hasn't gone too badly. We'll probably win the round. Yeah, we will. But there's a couple of issues there to deal with. So just to quickly have a look, I'll pause it. Quickly have a look at the options here. Arclight doesn't do much for me. I've already got a chaff clear unit on the board with the spiders. Hounds, likewise. Yeah, I don't think the hounds for the same reason. Rhino could have been an okay pick because he doesn't have heaps of DPS on the board. I could have had a Rhino, I suppose, but the Wasp made the most sense to me. The Wasp will come in and try to occupy the marksman effectively. Other than that, I try to deal with both of those issues that I mentioned earlier. So I'll put some fangs over here to slow down any units that trickle in over here, and also potentially to cover a flank. Put the wasps over here, and the crawlers to try to occupy that marksman. I also get another pack of crawlers and put them here centrally. My idea here was that I was hoping that they'd race in here and that they would pull some of these units across into the middle, so I wouldn't have to defend my tower as much, and so that some of these units could take on some of these units over here. But it doesn't work, and you will see why. For him, he's picked up Stormcallers predictably. That's the problem I'll have to deal with next round. As you can see, my crawlers rush over and his units go to the fangs on the right, so that idea hasn't worked. But the crawlers weren't useless. They did some good job. They did a good job there as late chaff coming in, and the round goes okay. It looks like we'll lose it because there's not enough wasps to take out the sledges, and he will survive with that one copium marksman. Okay, so next round, let's pause it again. The cards here, Assault Vulcan, I've never actually tried. But look, I think Into the Stormcaller doesn't make much sense to me. Mass Produce Fortress, again, I don't really have the board for it. I don't see the purpose of that. Redeployment is always pretty good. I could have gone redeployment and put a spider here, for example, and then used redeployment to try to move it around and reposition it in annoying spots on the flank. I think that would have probably been a decent play. An orbital is what I went with. Orbital is okay into his board because he's got a lot of small and medium units, and orbital should be able to hurt most of them. But look, I'm not 100% sure about it. The other thing I do is I get a crawler pack. It's a fairly standard response to the stormcallers, which he's leveled. And I do this crawler beacon, and the idea of that's pretty simple, that it will take the first 2 volleys of this stormcaller and they'll all miss and hopefully hit nothing. And then it'll come in and provide late chaff. Pretty standard play. The other thing I did is a very bad idea. I put a single arc light over here with my remaining money to try to deal with this tower going down. But that's a very bad play. I've already got a chaff clear unit on the board. I haven't teched it or leveled it. I should just do something else for this round, buy a crawler or whatever, or a fang, put it somewhere. And then next round, range the tarantulas and put another tarantula here. Much better than having this kind of useless, untechted, random arc light on the board. So that's the first mistake. But look, things are still going okay. I'm pretty comfortable at this stage. I put down a shield in case he takes orbital, and put down a missile to take out the sledge pack to try to force him to put down some more chaff in front of it. And the crawlers do their job, and we should take this round fairly easily. So happy with that, despite the silly arclight play. And things are going well so far. So here, I'll just go back there, sorry. What were the options there? Here, okay. Ugh, god damn it. Here, if you will finally allow me to actually see what the cards were. Okay, so advanced defensive tactics. I don't see that would help. How that would help me at all. Elite crawler is generally not a very good card because it'll work for 1 round or so, but after that, any response they make to it, that unit will level very quickly. Extended range Phantom Ray might have been an option here. He's got a couple of marksmen on the board. I don't know, could have been decent. What I went for was intensive training, which is based on some sort of faulty thinking. So my thought was that the Typhoon is a unit that is kind of average at level 1, but as they get levels, they become quite strong. And so I thought, I'm Typhoon spec, I've just got a free Typhoon. I'll take the training pack and level the Typhoon and go into a comp with Typhoon and Phoenix. However, he's giant spec. And, whatever giant he picks is probably going to be able to take out a level 2 Typhoon, and it's going to get some levels itself and some XP by doing that. So it's a mistake on my part. What I needed to do was skip, take the 50 for the skip, keep the level 1 Typhoon for some extra anti-air, I suppose, and go into some more DPS units myself, knowing that he's giant spec and that pretty soon, probably this round, a giant will be coming. So as you can see, he picks War Factory, which was a surprise to me. He takes efficient maintenance, so there's going to be more of them. And you can see his techs, it's most likely going to be a production factory. So I've got my level Typhoon, which is going to get destroyed pretty quickly, I would say. I wasn't sure where to put it. Over here might have been an option. But eventually I chose to put it here. Again, this idea to, drag this chaff across and not have to spend my whole life defending this tower or more resources defending this tower. So you can start to see now that, again, this arc light's clearly a mistake. I've got this Typhoon, which can do any job that the arc light, could do. So it's just a waste of a deploy and a waste of a unit. This comp, I'm sure everyone's seen the comp with Typhoon Phantom Ray. But it's stronger with the Phoenix behind it because there's more synergy, I guess, with the range. So the Phantom Rays will eventually rush ahead of the Typhoons because they've got a shorter range, but the Phoenix won't. So my idea was to spam this comp everywhere, but it's a terrible idea against Giant Spec. Go for the missile again, and this round should be fine. Not too scared about the level 1 factory in this round, but you can start to see that in the next rounds, my response to it was very, very, very bad. And that's because in-game, I don't know if I was tired or whatever, but I didn't even look at what techs he had on the factory. And I didn't expect production factory, and you can see why my response was very poor. And yeah, it's an instructive, teachable moment. We'll lose this round, obviously, to the Fangs, and move on to round 5. So here, I got kind of brain rot when I saw this barrier card. I thought, okay, the barrier card's there, I'll take a melter, and I'll give the melter the barrier card, and that's pretty strong. It's not. Melter's probably the worst thing you can pick into production factory because it'll just never get to hit the factory. It'll spend its entire life hitting these, whatever the factory produces, steel balls or sledges or whatever. The other cards obviously don't help me much. I mean, I suppose portable shield maybe, I don't know. But look, obviously I should have skipped here. And in this board state, I'm not doing terribly. What I needed to do in this board state was go into the air. I can either pick Raidens. Raidens are very good or pretty good at least, into production factory because they've got those 3 shots which will destroy any medium units that come out of it. And when you add chain, you can start to hit stuff behind the factory, like hopefully these marksmen. They're also very good into the sledges. Should take out the things like hounds and stormcallers fairly quickly as well. So Raiden, I think, would have been a very strong pick. And failing that, just Abyss. Abyss with missiles. The missiles take out the chaff. And the good thing about the missiles is they all won't go to the same unit. They'll sort of spread out and hit lots of different units. And then hopefully, they'll take out a marksman or a tower or the Fangs, and he'll be left without any anti-air. But anyway, let's look at the response that I actually came up with and see me lose spectacularly quickly. The Melter, and I actually think as a learning exercise, these sort of games where one player plays quite well and one player, me in this case, plays very badly, you learn a lot more from them than watching, the top players play each other when the mistakes that they make are very limited and no one gets punished really. But in this game you can see a mistake and then that mistake get punished. So anyway, I go for another chaff clear unit, a spider, still no tech on the spiders, and the melter. And what you can see is that the spiders and the typhoons will get destroyed, and the melter this round will be able to lock on to one of the war factories, but it's still attacking Fangs half the time. and it never really quickly gets to take out the war factory, and that's going to be the best round for the melter in the game because it was a surprise, I guess. So here, my options, I suppose I could take the Phantom Rays because he's only got a couple of marksmen and some fangs, but I took the Farseer hoping that it would help me clear some chaff because I knew that was going to be the main issue going forward. And what I'll do is range and level the spiders and add another couple of spiders. Obviously, I've kind of realized my mistake and I'm trying to fix it up. So, you know, I'm sort of doing my best to try to cover the terrible mistakes that I've made. You know, I've leveled these Void Eyes to try to take out sledges. He's gone for HE on the factory, which I don't know about. It's sort of a very cheap tech, so it's always tempting to click it. But one of these production techs probably makes more sense. And again, you can see we're doing okay. The melter locks on, you know, okay to the factory, but it's just, you know, we're miles off, basically. And you can tell here that we've got a real problem. Looking at the cards, I don't think any of those really help me whatsoever. So I've skipped them. And, you know, we can just watch the final death throes of this one. I've got so many problems. I've got some, you know, unprotected chaff clear units over here in the sabers. My chaff clear is still not working quickly enough to try to take out the chaff. So look, what I did was add another spider, put a crawler over here to try to protect these guys, but it's not going to work. He's taken range on the tower, and he's taken steel balls. So this melter now will never hit one of the war factories in its lifetime. It'll just spend its entire life hitting steel balls or sledges or fangs or whatever. And that is pretty much GG. You can see we get through okay on this side with DPS, but yeah, it's not going well. And you can sort of see, you know, the fact that my wasps are surviving that long shows you that obviously I should have gone into the air. And you know, we drop a good 2,000 points there, and you know, I'll show you the last round, even though it's quite pointless. Here I picked the steel ball because I'm like, well, you know, I've made the mistake. I've picked melters. Might as well see it through to the end. But it's a total waste of time. Yeah, we put down a couple of fang packs to try to protect the chaff clear. Put down another melter. You know, some missiles to try to clear some chaff. But it ain't gonna work, and we will justifiably get destroyed in this game. Not sure why I put the orbital over there. I should obviously put it over this side, but you know, at this point I'm just going through the motions. We'll take tower range and hope for the best, but as you can see, it doesn't work. So look, I guess the lessons from that game are look at the tech on your opponent's carry units and respond appropriately. The first big mistake is that arc light, which sort of sticks in my mind and annoys me, because it's just a very, like, you know, it's something that I did that helped for one round and then was completely useless for the rest of the game. I should have just picked a crawler and gone further into tarantulas, and yeah, obviously you don't respond to the war factory with a melter. I guess I'm kind of just in the habit of seeing the gut shot factory, the level 2 factory with armor, and against that the melter does make, you know, more sense because it's up the front and it's got a hell of a lot of HP. But in this context, the melter makes absolutely zero sense, and hopefully this game shows you why. I think also in the early stages of that game, I could have set up slightly more in the center to pull those units in the start. And what else? I think I could have defended this tower a little bit differently, perhaps, by trying to spread out across to the right a bit earlier instead of the way that I did. But that wasn't that bad. Yeah, again, it was just Raidens or Abyss in response to the production factory. Anyway, hope you found that interesting, and let me know if you have any comments or thoughts. Cheers.